like the regular knit 2 purl 2 ribbing, this stitch pattern is worked over 4 stitches and will need a selvage stitch at each side of the work. So cast on a multiple of 4 stitches plus 2 stitches for salvages, and use any type of cast on you like. I used the long tail cast on to get my 14 stitches on the needle. We can treat the salvages in any way. We can work them as in stockinette stitch, or we can work them in garter stitch, but I find that the slip stitch chain salvage works best with this stitch pattern. So I'm gonna slip the first stitch and purl the last stitch of every row. We start with the setup row to set up the pattern, and here's how it happens. Slip the first stitch, this is our salvage, and then knit 1 stitch through the back loop. That's already the pattern repeat. So we insert the tip of the right needle from right to left into the stitch and knit it. So knitting it through the back loop. And then make a yarn over and knit the next stitch through the back loop again. Then we make 2 purls, and that's the end of the pattern repeat. And so we repeat the same thing again. Knit 1 through the back loop, make a yarn over, knit 1 through the back loop, then purl 2 stitches. And one more time, knit 1 through the back loop, make a yarn over, knit 1 through the back loop, and purl 2 stitches. And then we get to the last stitch. This is our salvage. I'm gonna purl it just like this. Because we've been making yarn overs, the number of stitches that we have now on the needle is different from the number of stitches that we cast on. We added 1 stitch for each pattern repeat. So now instead of 14 stitches, I have 17 because I have 3 pattern repeats. And that's okay. This number of stitches will stay with us for as long as we work in this stitch pattern. Now turn the work and let's move on to the pattern row. And the good news is that the pattern repeat is just 1 row. So we're gonna work the pattern row on and on and on and on until we are happy with the length of this part of our project worked in this stitch pattern. So the pattern row, slip the first stitch, that's the salvage, and then we get to the pattern repeat. So knit 1 through the back loop. We already know how to do that, right? Then make a yarn over, knit 1 through the back loop. Then bring the yarn to the front of the work and slip 1 stitch purlwise. We insert the tip of the right needle from right to left. Slip the stitch from the left needle to the right needle. Then we get to the yarn over. You can tell that it is a hole here, right? And we simply drop it. We just let it go like this. And then we slip the next stitch again purlwise. Then bring the yarn to the back of the work and repeat this pattern repeat. So knit 1 through the back loop, make a yarn over, knit another 1 through the back loop, yarn to the front, slip, drop, slip, yarn to the back, and one more time, knit 1 through the back loop, make a yarn over, knit 1 through the back loop, yarn to the front, slip, drop the yarn over, and slip the stitch. Then we get to the last stitch. This is our salvage, so I purl it. And now you probably understand why we need salvages so badly in this stitch pattern, because we need this stitch to anchor the yarn that's been slipped, because we're slipping the stitches and the yarn is just hanging there. Otherwise, we will just have it hanging here. But we have this stitch and it anchors the yarn, and when we turn the work, the yarn will be where it should be at the beginning of the row, and it will be less confusing for us to start a new row. So these salvages are not just for decoration, even though they look nice, but they also have a job to do. They anchor the yarn. And repeat this pattern row on and on and on until you're happy with the length of the section worked with this stitch pattern. And when you do, you will form a beautiful stitch pattern, a beautiful fabric with a absolutely gorgeous, luscious texture. Because of those yarn overs, we get a texture that is really rich and looks quite a bit like brioche, feels at least quite a bit like brioche. So it is quite textured and nice, and the stitch pattern is fully reversible. But as you see, we have the same number of stitches, the increased number of stitches that is different from the number of stitches that we cast on. So when it is time to bind off stitches or to move to a different stitch pattern, we have to get rid of those extra stitches, making sure that the pattern stays consistent. And here's how we do it. So I'm going to put this thing aside, and let's see how we can move to from this stitch pattern to another stitch pattern, or the same thing happens when we bind off stitches. So slip the first stitch, then we're gonna knit all knits through the back loop, we're gonna purl all purls through the back loop, we're gonna drop all yarn overs, and we are not gonna make any new ones. So that's basically in a nutshell what's gonna happen. So this is a knit. I'm gonna knit it through the back loop, knit another one through the back loop, then we get to our first purl, and we can tell it's a purl because of this bump over here, right? So we bring the yarn to the front, we're gonna purl it through the back loop, which is a bit trickier than regular purling, but that's okay, we can do it, right? So here's how we do it. Insert the tip of the right needle from left to right, from the back like this, into this stitch. Then wrap it with the yarn like you normally do when you purl, and pull it through like this. So we purl this stitch through the back loop. Then comes the yarn over, so we drop it, simply let it go, and purl the next stitch again through the back loop. And repeat this, the same steps. So knit through the back loop, knit through the back loop, purl through the back loop, drop the yarn over, purl through the back loop, and then do it again and again. Knit the knits through the back loop, purls the purls through the back loop, let go all the yarn overs, and don't make any new ones. So this is the last stitch, my salvage. I simply purl it, and here's what we have. We are back to the number of stitches that we cast on. So in my case, it's going to be 14 stitches again. The pattern stays consistent. See, there are these beautiful columns of twisted stitches, and they are the same on both sides of the work. And we finished this section, worked in this stitch pattern. Now we have a beautiful piece that is worked in an alternative, so to say, stitch pattern to the knit 2 purl 2. It is not as stretchy as the regular knit 2 purl 2 ribbing. I'm gonna show you the difference. So this is how the ribbing stretches, and that's how this alternative stitch pattern stretches. See, it's not as stretchy, which in many cases is a good thing, because sometimes we just need a piece to keep its shape, to look nice, but not get too stretchy and too elastic. And another thing is, even though your tension might not be perfect, the stitches will still look much better than the regular stitches because they are twisted, and they look very nice and elaborate. So it is, I would say it is a fancier alternative to a regular knit 2 purl 2 ribbing. If you want to use this stitch pattern for a project worked in the round, go to 10roseaday.com/slip-stitch-ribbing to get step-by-step photo instructions for this stitch pattern worked both back and forth and in the round. To download this tutorial as a PDF, join the club at 10roseaday.com/club. Thank you for watching this video, and have a wonderful week. I'll see you in the next tutorial.